Hi YouTube, welcome to or back to the channel. I hope that you guys are excited for today's video. Two things. One, my kids are in the background playing with random things and Bluey's on, but I have it really low, so hopefully you can't hear it, but if you can, sorry, like we gotta do what we gotta do. I'm on my own tonight, so. And number two, I'm sick. So if you don't want to listen to my nasally voice, I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna have to come back for a day in the life vlog in like a week. You guys talking back there? I am assuming this is going to be a two-parter, if I had to guess, because this is a lot. If it is a two-parter, I'll just cut it into two parts, and you can watch it in two parts. So I'm going to go ahead and get started since I'm pretty long drawn out in my answers. The most frequent question we got is like giving updates on the boys, like each of their health updates. I've been trying to do that in the day in the life vlogs, but I'm going to give you just a quick rundown and then just kind of what's been going on, and then I'll get into the questions that you guys asked specifically. Biggest thing, we've been freaking sick for like 3 weeks. We've continued passing around viruses and I don't know what's going on, but I'm hopeful we're like getting to the end of it because I'm exhausted with being sick and trying to work and film content again because I'm desperately trying to save money to buy a house. So that's like why I'm filming so much content. So hopefully you guys will help support me, and all you have to do is watch my videos, share them, subscribe if you haven't, and I appreciate it so much because it really is going to help me to put back money to hopefully buy a house. Let's see. Biggest updates for each boys. Croy, nothing really has changed. He still has his YouTube. They have not given us a time yet to get it out. I'm going to go into that in a little bit when I talk about getting all their equipment taken out and their tubes and whatnot. No big updates for him. Daxon just had another eye surgery. It was pretty good. They're not perfect, but they look much better, and they have decided that it looks good. They don't want to mess with it again as of now. As far as his vocal cord, he got an injection not too long ago that helped him get a little bit louder. I think it's went down since then and his voice is kind of quieter back to what it was, but they have opted at this time to not continue doing injections just because, well, I'll get into that in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself. With him, I don't think there's any other updates. He has a sleep study coming up in July, so hopefully we can get him fully off of oxygen. With Ezra, he's off the vent all waking hours. I think at his next appointment, which is later this month or early next month, they're going to evaluate him and then decide if he is able to, and then they're going to decide if he's eligible to start coming off of it at nighttime, which I think that he will be, so that is good, promising. So that's really Ezra. His eyesight is the same, hearing's the same, still has hearing loss. He has his glasses now that he wears all the time. It's really the biggest, that's really it. There's not a whole lot of like big updates with the boys. Things have like really slowed down. I know before it feels like I had an update for you guys all the time, but honestly there's not really a lot going on right now, so I guess that's a good thing. I'll take it. Potty training Croy. A couple of people were like, are you potty training Croy? Honestly, Croy and Daxon probably both could be potty trained. Daxon is going to be a little bit trickier because his feeds run continuous. So I think especially like overnight, that's going to be really tough for him. Honestly, he's probably going to have to wear like stuff overnight until he's in like a toddler bed and he can get up. But even then, like he's attached to his feeding tubes. So I don't really know how that's going to work. But I do think like for the most part, Croy could potty train. We've tried it. He's went on the potty. How many times have you went on the big boy potty? Like 3 or 4. He's peed and pooped on the big boy potty, but then he'll act like he's scared and he doesn't want to do it. And my thing is like, I'm not going to force my kid to potty train until he's ready. I don't want to traumatize him. And so, I don't know. I'm not in any huge rush. I'd love for him to be potty trained, obviously, because that's less diapers that we have to change. But if he's not ready, he's not ready. So, he definitely understands the concept. He's smart enough to do it, and I think Daxon is too. But, I don't know. They freak out when I try to get him to sit on it, and so we've kind of like let off and let them just, I don't know, figure it out. But yeah.
I got 2 eyes.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking about my book? I'm going to do book recommendations for you guys coming up soon. I saw people ask about that. Moving on. So, I don't know. No rush. Somebody asked a question, and a couple of people have made comments about me putting my kids on the internet. And I don't know why we continue to have this conversation, but you're not me, and you don't have any control over my kids. So, I don't know. Don't watch my content. It's weird to me that people are like, stop putting your kids on the internet while they're watching my kids on the internet.
Excuse me.
Good job. That was very polite. Like, if you're that worked up about it, why are you on YouTube searching for kid content? weird. The reason that I share my kids and our story is because I know that it helps other people and it supports other people, and it puts me and my kids in a better financial situation. And ultimately, like, not saying that I don't know that there are like child predators, but it's not really any different from sharing your kids on any other social media. And my personal preference is I'm going to share those my kids with people that I know love and care about them, that maybe don't get to see them or, you know, have never got to meet them. That's my personal preference. It's my kids, it's my choice, and if you don't like it, then don't comment on my stuff and don't watch my videos. I don't know, that's all I got. That stuff drives me crazy because it's like you're going out of your way to watch my content, but yet you're harping on me for posting my content. It's like, just doesn't really add up, but thanks for the money. One other comment that I got that about sent me to my grave was that I'm mean to Ezra. First of all, Ezra's mean to me. He bullies me. Second, I'm not mean to my kids. I discipline my kids. I yell at my kids if they're doing something wrong. If they're being overly dramatic about something, throwing fits, throwing tantrums, I'm gonna tell them, go sit in timeout. Like, we're not doing that. That's me disciplining my children. I'm not mean to my kids. My kids come home every single day. When I come home from work, I'm the first person they run to. They say, love you, mama. They say they're mama's boys. Whose boy are you?
Mommy.
Oh, I know, but I'm so mean to you guys. Well, I guess just Ezzy. Poor Ezzy. I'm so mean. I don't even, like, I shouldn't even be giving the time of day to this, but he doesn't prefer me or his dad, really. He loves his nurses, so I don't know, like, it's just weird. You guys are weird. Some of you are just weird. But somebody asked a question about how the boys are doing developmentally, like, are they doing things age appropriately? Ezra, definitely not. He's only saying, like, maybe 10 to 15 words, and he's very developmentally behind the other two. The other two, I'd say, are pretty close to their developmental age. Daxon struggles a little bit with some aspects, and then Croy, I feel like, struggles with other aspects, but they're both, like, in a good position where I feel like their development is appropriate for where they're at, especially if you look at their, like, adjusted age, which is obviously a couple months different. There's a question about if we are moving or if we're still planning to stay here. Obviously, my plan is to not live here for long term, but there's just been a lot of things that have, you know, contributed to us needing to stay here. A big part of it is that we have a good foundation set here and we have a lot of help. You know, like, one thing that I know that I'll take for granted is being able to just ask my mom to come upstairs and watch the kids while I run to an errand. You know, like, I'm not going to be able to do that stuff, and I think it'll settle down once they're, like, in preschool and they have a more, I don't know, stricter schedule, I guess. But for now, it's obviously just me, Braxton, and the nurses, and so it's difficult to, I don't know, take that leap. But we are, I don't know, I'm trying to be in the process right now of moving out, and we'll be able to afford something that we need because we obviously have 3 children and we can't have a 1-bedroom house. So I'm saving all my YouTube profits now that I'm working full-time. I don't have to spend any of this money on living, so that's really nice. So anything I make from YouTube is currently going into savings for a home, so I'm excited for that. Somebody asked, oh, the poor kids, do they never get to go into the rest of the house? Again, I'm saying this politely as possible. You guys see a teeny tiny fraction of our lives and what we do. They go in our bedroom all the time. They have a nursery. They have a bathroom. This whole upstairs is 3 bedrooms and a bathroom. It's basically our own little apartment up here. And they, you know, go see all different parts of the house too. They go downstairs. They just went to my Nana's yesterday for Father's Day, so it's not like we just never get them out of the house. A couple days ago, I took all of them to my friend Kinsey's house to go swimming in her pool. They go to the park. They go outside and do therapy at least a couple times a week, so they're definitely getting exposure to being out and about. We take them to the store. We do all sorts of stuff with them, so yes, I promise they're not just sitting in one room all day every day without any other exposure to anything. It'll also help that they're starting preschool in the fall, because then, you know, they'll be able to do that every single day, which will be good. Somebody asked a question about how we prevent them pulling out or pulling at their G-tubes and trachs. We don't. It definitely happens. Ezra has been pulling out his trach the last couple weeks, and for whatever reason, I don't know why he's been doing that, but I guess he just is sick of it, which so am I, so if he wants to breathe on his own, we're all for it. But it's kind of, they do it sometimes, and we hope, luckily, we've caught it every time that they've pulled out a G-tube or their trach. Croy, I think, has pulled his out like once. I don't know that Daxon's ever intentionally pulled his out. Ezra's pulled out his G-tube and his trach a couple times. He's pulled out his trach like 3 or 4 times in the last like month. He's been kind of getting bad about it. Or he'll pull off all his trach dressings. I don't know. Who knows? I don't think it's like irritating him or anything. I think he's just like more aware now, and he knows that it's there, and he's like, something to yank at. So it definitely does happen. One thing that we do at night that helps with their G-tubes is we wrap, Daxon and Ezra get wraps around their bellies. Croy, we don't do it with because he's not getting feeds anymore through his G-tube, so it's not really necessary for him to have a wrap on. I mean, if his G-tube were to come out, like, they would probably just let it close at this point because he doesn't use it, except for, like, nasty meds and water flushes every once in a while if we feel like he's dehydrated. So they'd probably just let his come out. It's not that big of a deal, and he's not getting a feed, so it's just kind of like, eh. But the other two obviously are very reliant. All their nutrition comes from their G-tubes, all of it, so they have to have their G-tubes, and so the wraps definitely help with that. So people kept asking when they were going to get their G-tubes and their trachs out, or trach out, I guess, for Ezra. Croy could get his G-tube out at any time. I'm not really sure why they've kept it in this long. I think just going through the winter months and not wanting him to get sick. He hasn't had an appointment for a while, so I'm thinking maybe at the next follow-up they might pull it out because he hasn't used it. Just depends on how his weight gain has been. They want to see him gaining steady weight over a long period of time, and he's kind of struggled with that. He's just small. Like, me and Braxton are both small too, so I think that they, like, exaggerated a little bit because he's preemie, but I understand the logic of, like, needing to make sure before they take it out because he would have to be hospitalized and have one put back in, go under surgery again to get a new one if, you know, he stopped eating or gaining weight. So I understand, but technically that could happen with any kid, not just a preemie or a kid who's had a G-tube in the past. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping that they'll take that out soon just because it's one less thing that we have to worry about. But sometimes it's also nice to have that to fall back on if, you know, we want to give him a medication or if he's sick and we're like, he's really dehydrated, let's give him some Pedialyte. Sometimes that's kind of nice. And it honestly doesn't really do any harm because we don't do anything with it. We literally just clean his belly during baths and treat it like any other part of his body. Like, he doesn't even wear dressings on it anymore, so it's kind of like, I don't know. It's not really bothering us that it's still in. Daxon and Ezra will definitely not be getting their G-tubes out anytime soon. I'm talking like years. They're just not interested in eating or taking any of their calories or nutrients by mouth, and so it's just not going to happen right now, which is fine because, again, like, I'm thankful that we have that technology to be able to keep them alive because, you know, in the past they would have had to be in the hospital this whole time. So, I don't know, I try to look at it as, like, thankful that we have that option for them, I guess, and they'll eat when they're ready, although it is frustrating. I'm telling you, though, whenever Croy started eating food and I had to actually, like, get him meals and prepare things, my life got significantly more difficult. It was way easier when they were just all in their feeding tubes and we could just feed them overnight. Don't get me wrong, I want them to all eat by mouth, but it was actually way easier when they were all on feeding tubes. So, I don't know, I'm not rushing it by any means. A lot of people ask, like, how are you doing, or how's everything going, how, you know, just in general, like, how life is. Honestly, like, we're chilling right now. I feel like I've had a lot of changes happening in the last, like, I don't know, 6 months or so, and there's just a lot I'm looking forward to and a lot of different shifts going on. I'm kind of applying for new positions right now within my job, so I'll still be in the prison doing what I've been doing, but doing a different job, if that makes sense. It's also a raise, so I think that'll be good. It's just giving me a challenge and something new to learn and look forward to, so I'm excited for that, just, you know, the change. I'll also be starting my master's program in August, and then, I don't know, I'm kind of just in this in-between of, like, figuring things out. I don't really know if, you know, I'll want to do this full-term or long-term admin, or I don't know, but we'll see. I eventually want to become an investigator at the prison that I work at. It's really just about waiting until a job opens because they're kind of few and far between, but I'm hopeful that, I don't know, in the next couple years or so, that would be a position that would open up for me, and that'd be good. Okay, sorry guys, it was getting a little chaotic in there, so I was like, I'm just gonna go in my room. I'm gonna answer a couple more questions for you guys, and then I'm gonna split this into part 2 because it's already being a long video, and who knows how much I'll ramble. So, okay, so next, gear and pads. I will do my best to tell you guys where I got everything, like all of our gear. 99% of it's from Etsy. So the G-tube coverings that we use over their extensions so that they can't clamp their extension tubes or pop open the other side and then all the food leaks out. Those we got off Etsy. They're just called like G-tube port covers. And then we have the wraps that wrap around their belly. Those, I think you just type like G-tube belly band. All of Ezra's like fancy stuff, like his trach circuit cover, all that stuff is off Etsy. Just look up like ventilator circuit cover. And then most of like, I'm trying to think, like pretty much all of our stuff is from Etsy that's custom. Like we ordered a bunch of stuff. I'm about to order some more wraps because they're getting a little bit tight on Daxon. So yeah, I think everything pretty much is from Etsy. And then, I don't know, some of the stuff that we get like really cheap, like Ezra's like Pulse Ox wraps. It's like the Coflex type of stuff, we get that off either Amazon or Temu. I would check Temu for stuff because I know like Temu sometimes has a bad rap, but I've ordered a lot of stuff off Temu. I've never had any problems. I get a lot of their clothes and stuff off there because it's super cheap. And they have stuff like the Coflex is like 50 cents or something a roll. Like it's super cheap. So I would definitely recommend looking on there for some things if you can find them on there before looking on Etsy. Etsy is just more expensive, but I love supporting small businesses, so I don't mind spending that money, especially because the stuff lasts for a long time. But simple stuff like that, like definitely could get off Temu because you don't need to, it doesn't need to last. Like we don't reuse a wrap for very long. So preschool update. So a lot of people asked about preschool, and then people asked if I was worried about them getting sick when they start preschool. So they aren't in preschool yet. They will start preschool in the fall in August. So I don't remember what the exact day of school is, but they'll go Monday through Thursday for 3.5 hours. So I feel like that's a really good like time frame. I kind of wish that they did like an afternoon session too, like even for just a couple hours, because it kind of makes our lives difficult with nursing, trying to figure out how that's going to work. But basically Braxton or I will have to drop the kiddos off at preschool, and then Ezra's nurse is allowed to take him, but she can't drive the other two to school. Then Ezra's nurse will be able to go with them to preschool, and that'll be cool. I'm happy that she got approved to be able to do that. The other question was sickness and germs with preschool. I am scared about it, but I mean, you can't shelter them forever. Like it's going to be super good for them to go to preschool and learn so many new things. Each of them have individualized education plans, IEPs, and I love it. I'm so happy with the results and the testing that they did on the boys. I think that they're going to thrive in this environment. We have a really good speech language pathologist and OT that is going to start working with Daxon, and I think that he's just going to excel a lot better with more time and focus. He's going to be getting more specialized care every single day on that, so that'll be good. It's really cool because they get to do speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. They do writing, they practice their writing their names, they get individual tasks, and they're very focused on each kid and their individual needs. So when they did their evaluations, Croy, Daxon, and Ezra all scored differently on different parts of the evaluation, and based on that is dependent on how many minutes of that specific therapy they get each week. So Croy, obviously his occupational therapy is like an hour a week or something. I think it's something like that, whereas Daxon and Ezra's is like, I don't know, 90 minutes 3 times a week. I can't remember the exact numbers, but you get what I'm saying. So it's very specialized to them, and I also think it'll be good because they're all in the same class, but because they're going to be pulling them out for therapy so often, they're going to have to figure out how to be away from one another, and I think that will be really good for them too. I don't know that I'm going to be allowed to like show you guys their preschool, but if maybe at some point I could try and like film a little sneak a peek without getting anybody else's kids in it, then I will try that so you guys can kind of see, because it's super cute. There's an indoor area, an outdoor area, they have their classroom, and then there's like a relax area where if they get very overstimulated they can take them, and it has like a sensory swing and like a sensory thing and a ball pit. It's super cool, and the lights get low and the lights change colors in there, so I think it'll be really good. I'm excited to see how much they excel. I don't know, I feel like they're gonna do really, really well. Do I still read books? I do. I've read quite a few books this month for how busy I am. I think I've read 5, and I'll probably finish another 2 or 3 before the month is over. So I plan to, in the next couple weeks, I'd say in the next 2 weeks or so, drop a book review video on all the books that I've been reading, what my favorites have been this year, and eventually I'd like to do like rating all the books that I've read and giving you like my top 5 books that I've read this far, maybe top 10, because I've read a lot of good books. But my bookshelf behind all of these is more books, so these are all full of books and books and books and books. Like they're anyway, so yeah, I have more down there, and then this is obviously all full. So yeah, I think I have like 100 and some books now, and then I still read on my Kindle too. So I'm going to tell you guys the books that I recommend buying, books that I recommend getting on Kindle or Audible, because I do listen to audiobooks too, so I will give you guys all my recommendations. That is the last question I'm going to answer for part 1. Tune in for part 2. I know a lot of people are asking about me and Braxton and what's going on with our relationship, or if we're still together, and you'll have to tune into part 2 to find out, because it's kind of a lot. So I will see you guys in like a day, because I don't plan to keep this part 2 for long away from you. So anyways, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you for the next part. Welcome back. So this is a continuance of part 1 Q&A. I have answered a lot of questions, but I felt like I needed to split it into 2 parts just because they do get long and I ramble, but I think people want detailed explanations to the questions and not just like a quick like, yes, no, we're great, cool, moving on. So the biggest question that we have been asked is what's going on with me and Braxton. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I want to see how long some of these other questions are going to take me to answer. So a big one was sign language and communication among the boys. They do still use sign language some, but not very frequently anymore. Now that Daxon is really talking and using his voice, he doesn't sign, and Ezra has never really, I don't know, Ezra is difficult to get to communicate. If you've watched my last videos, like his trach when he's on his new piece, which is his HME, and he just either gets oxygen or he's just on his HME. The HME means that he's still breathing from his trach, and the HME is the humidification system, so it's what's keeping his airway moist so he doesn't dry up, but he's still breathing out of his trach. But when we put on his speaking valve, he's breathing out of his nose and mouth, and so that's what blocking that off and putting the speaking valve on is what helps him the vibrations to be able to talk, but he won't talk on it. The only time he talks is when he's on his ventilator. So I don't know, it's been kind of a difficult balance for us because we're trying to figure out how to continue letting him excel and grow his lungs and get stronger and continue coming off the vent and getting more freedom, but he won't talk unless he's on the ventilator, so then now his speech is behind. But I will say he was sick for like a week and a half, and we had him back on the vent throughout the day, and he talked nonstop. So I think our main focus is trying to get him off the vent, and then when he goes to preschool, hopefully those therapists will be able to help him learn to talk with that speaking valve. I think he just hasn't quite figured it out yet because we haven't used the speaking valve very often. For the most part, he's just on HME, and he can't talk with the HME. I think he just hasn't figured out yet that he can talk with that speaking valve, and when he does, I think that he'll talk a lot, because the week that he was off the vent, I thought he could only say maybe like 5 words, and he was saying like 15 to 20 words, and he was talking and he was showing us stuff and pointing and saying like apple, koala, like all these words we didn't even know he knew. So that makes me feel good because I know that he's at least retaining all that information, and I think, you know, once he figures out he can speak on the speaking valve, he's gonna take off with his speech. So I'm more focused on getting him off the ventilator and starting that process versus like, I don't know, forcing him to speak. Hi, Bastion.
Told YouTuber.
Huh? What?
We're making a different type of movie.
Shut up. You're gonna get me banned. There's a question a lot about communication among the triplets. They don't really communicate with one another very much. Like Croy will yell at Daxon, but I don't feel like they really talk much between each other. Daxon kind of just repeats whatever Croy says a lot of the time and wants to know what Croy's doing and be involved with Croy. So I think it just, I don't know, they don't necessarily like I can't stand it. Don't necessarily like talk or have conversations between one another, if that makes sense. Do they play together or are they independent? They're starting, Croy and Daxon at least, are starting to play together a little bit more, but honestly, Croy does not like to be bothered. Ezra does not want to play with his brothers ever, but Daxon is very he wants to play with them. He's very reliant on Croy and what Croy's doing, and so, and it's like it's funny because it's a fine line. I feel like they're not on the same page about playing with one another. Croy's not having it, and I think it's probably because he's been the most advanced, and so I think they look to him and they want to know what he's doing. Like even Ezra will just come and watch him eat, and he's just so annoyed because he's like, let me be. But I think they learn so much from him, and so he's kind of the example, and yeah, he doesn't like it. Okay, somebody asked about the boys' health. In general, they're overall doing good besides the fact that we had all these viruses for like 2 weeks and we cannot get over them. Like I'm still so congested, but for the most part, they are pretty healthy and they've done really well. Everything's, I don't know, kind of like I said in the last video, really settled down. It doesn't feel like we're in such fight or flight mode anymore, and I don't know, I'm thankful for that. You know, it's nice to kind of have a break. Unfortunately, we have a lot of appointments coming up between Ezra seeing pulmonology because he came off of one of his pulmonary hypertension meds. They want to look at his heart, check an echo, make sure he's doing good. Then he has like a home vent appointment. He sees the rehab clinic. He needs braces for his feet, which is an update. I don't think I have told you guys. So he's getting little braces on his feet to help him not like turn his feet in, just to strengthen them. It's not like a permanent forever thing, but I guess needs them. I feel so bad for that kid. Literally has glasses, hearing aids, and now braces. But anyways, so that's kind of where that is. He has a lot coming up. Daxton has an eye follow-up coming up. He sees, I guess he just saw ENT. Corey has a special care clinic appointment coming up at the NICU. Daxton has that appointment too. And then I think Ezra has another like home vent appointment or something. I don't know. It's a lot coming up in the next couple weeks, so can't wait. I'll try to vlog if I can. Is Daxton's voice permanently going to sound the way that it does with the highs and lows? Probably. There's not really anything else that we can do at this given time. They don't want to do the injections anymore, which I think I spoke a little bit about on the last video, but to go into a little bit more detail, they don't want to put him through the trauma of continuing to go in and do injections if it's just kind of a temporary solution. Now that he's getting older, they are able to, at preschool, which is great, they are going to be able to like do exercises with him that will help him strengthen his voice on his own. So instead of, you know, going in and doing surgery again, which we were on the same page, I was kind of like, I don't want to continue putting him under anesthesia just for this to be like a temporary 4 to 6 month fix. And the doctor was, you know, that was what he was suggesting too. But now that he's older and he can kind of like do repetitious stuff and he can follow directions, they're hoping that the therapies that he will be in are going to help him to strengthen his voice and learn to project more, because it's really just about strengthening his vocal cords. And a lot of people live with, you know, 1 paralyzed vocal cord or even 2 and are able to speak and talk and do all the works. So eventually, if he doesn't get a stronger voice, we might look into like a more permanent solution, you know, maybe moving his vocal cord in, or I don't know, but we'll see. For now, we're just kind of hanging out. Sometimes it's hard to hear him, but sometimes he really projects his voice. So it really just kind of depends. I'm letting him lead the way. Somebody asked a question, which bear with me because it was kind of a long question and I didn't want to read the whole thing, but they were asking if any of the kids had autism, or, you know, how would we know yet if we have a diagnosis. So far, we don't have an autism diagnosis. It's hard to tell if any of them do. I mean, I think autism is such a huge spectrum, so I wouldn't want to like self-diagnose my kids, but I would say with Ezra's development, I don't know if he has a diagnosis of some sort or if it's just he's been, you know, in the hospital for 19 months and is pretty delayed. So I don't know, time will tell. Regardless, I'm proud of where they're all at, and I think that they're all doing great. Corey and Daxton are extremely intelligent, and they haven't shown any, like, none of them have shown any specific symptoms of being autistic or any concerns for that at this point. I know, you know, they are evaluated quite frequently by lots of medical professionals, and nobody has brought that up to us yet. Not saying it's not possible, but, you know, the future will tell. I'm sure one of them's gonna have ADHD or OCD, who knows, you know. I have all these things clinically diagnosed. Braxton has bad vision, Ezra got bad vision. You just never know, who knows. But regardless, we're gonna, you know, love them and support them in wherever we end up. But as of now, how do I maintain energy for everything? Meds, nurses, and parenting in general? I don't know. Honestly, I ask myself this a lot. I think, and I'll talk to you guys about this in a minute when I talk about Braxton and I, but I think we've just been in fight or flight so long that this is our normal. You know, it's been our normal for 3 years now, and we've just adapted to this lifestyle. Support has definitely helped, although it may seem like me and Braxton have a really large support system, but we honestly don't have like a huge support system by any means. My camera's gonna die. I'm gonna have to film on my other camera. Shoot! Oh my gosh, this is so weird. I haven't filmed on this camera for so long. It's like this big compared to my big one, but anyways, if I look crazy, that's why. I don't like this at all. Okay. Maintaining energy for everything. I think it's just freaking, we've had no other option, and we've just been in this fight or flight for so long. So it's just very normal for us, and we've just figured it out, and this is, I mean, what do? You can't give up, you know? So I don't necessarily maintain energy, but I do think, and I will say for my mental health and myself, me being able to go back to work was a huge thing for me in taking care of myself, and I've become a significantly better person, partner, and mother because of that. So I think it's about balance for sure, and kind of finding yourself and what helps you. Obviously having a good outlet is helpful, and kind of getting rid of some of that energy or negativity or overwhelmness, you know, overstimulation, and mine's definitely reading, but being able to go to work and kind of have that outlet has been super helpful to me. And I know some people are definitely going to be, you know, shameful, like, oh, you know, you're having someone else raise your kids, this and that and the other. My kids get plenty of time with me in the evenings, and we're home with them every single weekend, you know, during the week without any nursing, and they get plenty of time with their parents. So we're very active in their lives, and we, you know, you can't pour from an empty cup. And I've seen like this thing going around on Twitter all the time where it's like, but you can pour from an empty cup, and you will if you're a mother. And I'm like, but if you're pouring something, it's not an empty cup, you know? Like, you have to have something to give, and in order to do that, you have to be able to take care of yourself too, and that's important. But it's a fine line. I mean, I know that I'm a good mother, and that's one thing that I'll always be able to hold on to and cling to. And so taking the time to go back to school, taking the time to, you know, go back to working was difficult, but I also knew that my kids were going to school in less than a year, and I felt like it was the right timing to do so. You know, I started working again in December. I was doing almost all my schooling from home, so that was really nice, and I would just do it when they went to bed, so it wasn't taking away from time with them, or I would do it on the weekends during naps. It's really just, everything's finding balance and like understanding what you need as a person before you can be a mother. Sometimes you just have to find that, you know, in between balance. I also, like I said, I knew that the kids were going to school in August, and so I was like, it was a good time for me to be able to go back to working, because I knew that they were going to be in preschool and then obviously eventually school, and so I felt like it was good timing for me to pursue a job. What are you doing with your hand like that? Well, don't. Moving on. How do we gentle parent? Well, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to gentle parent. I've actively been trying to gentle parent, and it is hard, but if I get super overstimulated to the fact where I feel like I'm gonna freak out, then I just sometimes have to like walk out of the room and separate myself from the situation, because one toddler is a lot, you know, one kid can put you to the point of overstimulation. I know, because sometimes it is one of the triplets that sends me to my grave, but 3 at once is crazy, and it's constantly something, and I know like probably a lot of people feel that way even with just one kid, but think of it times 3. There's always something going on. One of them always needs your attention. Somebody's getting wrapped up in a cord, somebody's falling, Croy needs food. It's just constant, it's never ending with them, and so that can get extremely overwhelming sometimes very quickly. You just get very overstimulated, and I think at that point when you're super overstimulated is when it's a struggle to gentle parent. So just kind of knowing where your end of the ropes are, and like relying on your other people to help. Sometimes I will literally just be like, I have to walk out of the room for a second. Mom, can you come up here and sit for a second? Braxton, watch them for a minute, and I'm gonna just, you know, leave the room. So just kind of knowing. People asked for a school update. I'm still in school. I took the break through the summer just because there wasn't enough classes for me to be full-time for my master's degree, because obviously it's a master's program, so there's just not as many class options. It's a smaller program, and so I'm starting that in August, and I'll be in 9 credit hours in August, and then I think I'll graduate in May of next year, so I'll have a fuller semester, I think, next semester. Yeah, I think I'm gonna take 9, maybe 12 credits this semester. I think it's 9. I don't know, I'd have to look, but I start back in August, so I'm excited and I'm ready to go. Do you want to come on here? People asked where you're at.
They don't give a fuck about me.
Watch them out. They asked what's going on with us, and if we're co-parenting or we're together. So
maybe we just skip that one.
Can't just ignore them.
You can. I do it all the time.
No. That's my last question too. So, everyone wanted to know where Braxton's been, and are we co-parenting, or why hasn't he been in content, but I'm confused because I haven't posted content, so he hasn't been in it. But I think a lot of you guys don't realize that it's my YouTube channel for the most part, so he's here too. It's not like he's not here. He's here. He doesn't just up and leave, and I'm with the kids all by myself all the time. We're very like 50-50 actively involved with the kids, so just because you don't see him on camera doesn't mean he's not there. I try to film honestly when it's like just me, because sometimes it's just easier that way. I don't know, that's just kind of how the cookies crumbled. The last couple videos that I filmed, where I filmed all in one day, was a day that he had family plans, and so he was gone, and so I just spent the whole day like filming content. And yeah, I don't know, sometimes it's easier for me to get work done when I'm by myself, but he is still here. He's right there staring at him. So he's not gone. He's I'm not gonna go too deep into where Braxton and I lie, just because it's a little complicated currently with everything that's going on, and we don't really have an answer ourselves. We did split up a while ago, and we've just been kind of taking things one day at a time, and yeah, I don't really have a clear answer for you guys, or I would tell you, but we're just kind of taking everything one day at a time and taking things slowly, and yeah, that's all I have. So hope that's a good enough answer for you for now. Maybe I'll elaborate more in like a couple weeks or something, but as of now, that's all you're gonna get. So he is actively involved with the kids though, and has them just as much as I do. So I don't, just because he's not in the videos doesn't mean he's not here. He's staring at me.
Yeah, I've been the primary parent. Don't get it
No,
twisted.
you haven't.
I was.
He takes them to all their appointments and stuff because I can't take off for work, so that's been nice. But anyways, I love you guys so much. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'm happy to do another Q&A for you guys if you have more questions. I tried to like go through and answer as much as that I saw on both YouTube, Instagram, and any of our YouTube like videos, like questions, but it's kind of hard to follow those. So always go to our channel, like our main channel page, and under the community tab, I try to post like every couple weeks, or you know, I'm getting back into posting frequently, but I try to post a Q&A section, and that's where I go, or on Instagram. My Instagram, Aubrey Vandermolen, or the Fuller Triplets. That's where I post my Q&A questions. So follow us, give us a follow. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. Please share. Please watch, because I'm trying to save up to buy a house. Thanks. Love you guys. And we'll see you in the next video.